Brisbane's win over Carlton, Joey, a lot of focus on the Blues still because they have struggled a little bit, and a lot of talk about Tom De Koning because he's been out of the ruck playing forward. How are you rating how?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about Tom, and we'll forget about him and his performance for the moment because it's been done to death. But I think all is okay without TDK if he decides to leave, because I think they have got more than a capable number one ruck that is sitting there, and that is Mark Pitnet. And these are his numbers against McInerney and Fort, two pretty experienced and good players. The hit-outs to advantage, he dominated. The clearances they won, and they were able to outscore a Brisbane Lions side that is elite at clearance. And when you actually take a look at his last two seasons, so since the start of 2024, now he's only played 18 games, but in those 18 games, he's a top 5 rated ruckman in the competition with what his actual impact is. So Sherry and Gawn, no doubt, the two best rucks. Jackson coming with a rocket, and Witts is always around the mark. But Pitnet actually does have significant impact with what he does. Yeah, that's
crazy, isn't it?
So it gets underrated, and I think the Tom De Koning jumping out off the page at the start of the year maybe just sort of diminished a little bit of what Pitnet does. And we take a look at just some of the vision of his ruck work and his craft. There is no surprise that it makes a difference to their stoppage game when he is playing and what it does for the team. And he's a big body. He's 29 years of age. Carlton can save the $1 million. They can take the draft pick if Tom De Koning does leave as an early pick, get some more young talent and get a specific need, which is no doubt kickers and some guys that can run and use it. And I think that Carlton will be okay, as I've mentioned before. I don't think it's a full rebuild. I think they can reshuffle and rejig. And the flow-on effect is what it does for Paddy Cripps. Now, I know Paddy Cripps says he loves having Pitnet in the ruck. He feels that he gets a much better look, as we've just seen, and the numbers back it up. So since the start of last year, Cripps' clearance numbers are significantly better when he's got Pitnet rucking as a
Which makes sense. Now, we've seen multiple times, and the Grundy-Gawn one from a couple of years ago say if you've got two sort of number one rucks, which TDK is as well, it sometimes and often doesn't work. But what you've seen with Pitnet and what he's been able to do, and those numbers back that up, if you don't have the Gawn and you don't have the Luke Jackson, you just need the big body. Yeah. And you need someone to negate the opposition. I think Briggs has done this really well for a couple of years at the Giants. You just need someone to be able to bludgeon them and just take body for 2 hours every weekend. And he's done that really well.
That's amazing numbers because the bloke he's better than at Carlton's about to be paid $1.7 million at St Kilda.
Asking for a pay rise at the Blues.
Time for Pitto to stick his hand out, it's fair to say. What about for Brisbane, Zack Bailey, one of the most damaging players at the line?
I love what Chris Fagan's done over the last few weeks. So there's been significant change. McCluggage has gone inside. We know that. So Zack Bailey's played a lot more time on the wing. So here he is on the wing. They're going to the right of screen. He doesn't play wing. He plays as a seventh forward. He starts on the wing, and we've seen this probably in the past, and the easy example is to picture is Dustin Martin playing on ball. They just roll forward. Look at the gap. So he is now forward of the football all by himself. He's playing on Fantasia. Fantasia has no idea where he's going or where he is, but he rolls forward. So there's two options. He's either by himself or a poor defender of the Blues has to pick up an extra person. He sits there all day long. He's done this really well. So I see this as a great tactical move by Chris Fagan and the Brisbane Lions. How do they generate more scores? Well, you need to find other avenues. So you play 6 traditional forwards, and a couple of them are going really well, and you find your extra that comes up and then just releases forward. So here he is again. He's worked a half back, but he's only going one way. So I think Carlton and every team that they play going forward, you get a choice here. You either go head-to-head and fight fire with fire and play someone similar to him that needs to make him pay the other way. But if you get it wrong, that's what happens to you. Your other choice is you play a defender on the wing. So Nick Haynes could have played this role on the weekend. So the Brisbane Lions are going to the left of screen. He's already offensive goal side on Fantasia. He doesn't play defence. He is just waiting for a split second to get goal side of his opponent. He's damaging. Last week he kicks 5 goals, 1. So the lesson should have been learnt by Carlton and Fantasia. This week they got away with it. Just the 1 goal forward and no score. He had so many opportunities, plus the examples that we showed where he was just there and just didn't get used. There was other players, but I love the tactical move by Chris Fagan when they say, oh, we've tweaked a few things. That's the tweet.
It's a new position, the wingman that plays forward. We've seen Ollie Dempsey has revolutionised it, and other clubs are catching on. And he went there late last year, and it's a great bit of vision because it is a weapon that these teams are utilising now.
Excellent vision, Dale. He's getting lost in that forward half, but I tell you what, he won't be playing, or it seems that he's in line not to play this weekend because he's received a 1-match ban for a bump on Nick Haynes on the boundary line. Take a look at this. I don't want to get too far this time, Joey. So Zack Bailey comes in. They actually head clash. So the bump is to the sort of body, but there is a head clash between Bailey and Haynes, and under the AFL rules, if you're responsible for the head clash, it is a ban. You got your doubts on that one as well, Joey?
Gentle cheek on cheek, isn't it? It was all down the body. Did Haynes get up and play on? He didn't go off for HIA.
Felt his cheek for a little bit.
I won't argue with you on that one. I'll give you that one, but I
will.
like it.
I'd challenge that just out of principle.
I think the challenge is on from Brisbane, so they'll try and have him available for that clash against the Western Bulldogs this weekend. Will certainly be a big game. Tell you what, Fremantle's win over Hawthorn was a big game on Saturday night, and you had the midfielders, the Dockers midfielders, under the gun, Joey, and they fired in the fourth term.
Well, they did, but they had to wear down the Hawks again, and it's become a bit of a trend now because if you take a look at the last 3 weeks, there is a pattern, and it depends on which way you want to look at it, whether it's glass half full or glass half empty. But round 16, remember, for the first 3 quarters, they got smacked around the clearance, and they were able to rectify it and come from behind in the final quarter to win that game. Then against the Sydney Swans, the same. They were getting pounced around the ground and at centre bounce, and then they were able to rectify it. They almost won. They got within 5 points, couldn't get over the line. And then on the weekend against Hawthorn, it was a similar story. They were getting beaten around the clearance and scores from stoppage, but then the fourth term, they were able to wear down Sydney. So that's now 2 out of 3 weeks they've come from behind at three-quarter time. So that's the positive. They'd only done that once in the previous 2 years, trailed at three-quarter time and won. But, Dal, at the same time, they are leaving themselves a lot of work. Yeah. This is meant to be their one wood. This is their great strength as a team. The 2 rucks, the talent. You just spoke about Caleb Sarong and how brilliant he is with Brayshaw and Shea Bolton going in there. But they can't, for the rest of the season and heading into finals, leave themselves with that much work to do around the stoppages late, even though they are wearing teams down. So it is a real positive, but they just need to fix it. Just something to keep an eye on.
I think if you're the coaching staff, you'd be patting the boys on the back and saying, hey, great response. That's grit, that's digging in. But we need to tidy up the first 3 quarters, boys. Like, that is not sustainable against the very best teams. Now, it worked once again against the Hawks on the weekend. The inside 50, 17-10 in that last quarter. So when you get your clearance game right, you get your contested possession right, which they did in that last quarter, you get better looks. Yeah. There's no other way to put it. You get the ball in your front half and you set up behind the footy. But does that stack up in finals? Can you get away with that when you're actually playing against Brisbane and Collingwood and the Cats and the big boys? So if I was the Dockers, and I'm sure they must know this, hey, we've got to tidy up the first 3. We are not a come-from-behind team. That is not sustainable for success.
They need to hold some ascendancy throughout the 4 quarters in the on-ball department, as you say. That is their one word right. On Saturday afternoon, it was Adelaide with a statement over the Western Bulldogs. A really impressive performance, and it was the Crows' big forwards who dined out.
Yeah, the big 3, they were awesome. It was a powerful performance, and what I loved watching them live is how they get the separation, and they are never in the same contest. So Tex Walker in this situation goes, I don't need to be down the line. Riley Thilthorpe's there if the kick goes there. But what he does is position on the off-ball in the chance that they come through the corridor or go to the open side, and then Thilthorpe rolls deep. Once again, Thilthorpe this time comes high up the ground because they need an outlet. They need the contested mark. Then the other 2 forwards reposition. So Tex this time stays down the line. He likes to come up. He's not necessarily the big contested mark. Then when they do bring the ball through the corridor, you've got your other forward coming out of the goal square. Now, in this situation, he doesn't get used, but the pattern is perfect. Lead up, create some space. Dawson gets the mismatch. He gets the free kick. And another look-off turnover. There are the 3 boys. Fogarty short, you lead up. The guy that's in the goal square, you now lead up and you create the vacuum around the back. Now, once again, Tex doesn't get used, but watch how it draws all the Bulldogs' eyes. And then Fogarty makes the right decision. Never, ever do you see the Adelaide Tools fighting for the same ball. And that's why they had 11 goals, 3 between them. They took 27 marks between them. They all had nearly 10 score involvements, and they took 10 marks between them inside 50, and they're increasing their inside 50 marks. So they were sort of mid-table first half of the year. The last 3 weeks, that's improved to 17, and that's why they are formidable, and it's a point of difference that is going to be scary for opposition teams.
Great vision, look very deliberate and strategic.
That's how you want to play it.
That's how it mapped out. They were missing their key defender, Jordan Butts, however, for a couple of weeks after suffering a punctured lung in an unusual incident. And the Adelaide Crows medical staff are still working through this because you can see the Sam Darcy whack to the shoulder or the sternum. This is when they think he popped his lung, but again, it's a little bit unclear. So Jordan Butts is still in hospital tonight. He'll spend a second night in hospital. He has been unwell. Now, it can sort of reinflate over 3 or 4 days and maybe misses only the 2 games, but we hope he's feeling well. Sam Darcy cleared, so no charge for that, no suspension, which is the right call, right? How many times did someone plough into your chest like that?
My children do that eating breakfast every morning. That's common practice. Now, whether that was the incident, it's sort of almost hard to believe. That was it. I saw Nasai Wanganeen Malira start the game with James Jordan behind him. They did that 3 times to each other just to introduce themselves. So I'm glad there was no report because there's nothing reportable there. A really unfortunate incident if that was the case.
Unusual.
Yeah, strange.
Very
strange.
unusual. You can pop your lung just under exertion, running around. Anyway, he's going to have more tests